Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some legendary doubles gameplay taking place on the map, the Ark. Scoreline in the background isn't too earth-shattering, it's just a 16-for-1. However, I feel like this is a gameplay where I managed to play a lot more intelligently than I normally do. If I have a problem as a player, it's that I have this ADHD playstyle, this freaking bull in a china shop mentality, where I play like a moron and I get everyone in trouble. Whereas I feel like in this gameplay, I managed to slow things down a little bit more and play a tiny bit more rationally. Obviously not too rationally, because this is the Major of Mustard after all. But I feel like I didn't play too shabby. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching that. But today I actually wanted to talk about Destiny and my expectations for Destiny. I haven't talked about Destiny for quite some time. And seeing as I'm going to play the beta in 3 days, I thought I'd give you guys my pre-expectations and see how closely they align with my post-expectations. Because it's going to be an interesting game, that's for sure. You know, regardless, we've been looking for something to play for quite some time. And even if it isn't, you know, my game of the year, even if it isn't this godlike experience, it's definitely going to be a change of pace, and it's going to be a much needed change of pace, so I'm very open-minded to the idea. However, I do have my reservations. Now, before I go into the video, I'm going to ask you guys to comment what you think about Destiny, you know, gauge your expectations, because honestly, it's something that I kind of don't fully understand yet. I don't know, you know, where exactly the Halo 4 community sits on opinions about Destiny. I've talked to a lot of people, and it seems to me to be completely split down the middle, of some people saying that they think it's going to be terrible, they think it looks a bit like a Borderlands ripoff, they think the multiplayer looks a little bit too Call of Duty-esque, and then I get this other portion of people who say, you know, Bungie can do no wrong, this game's going to have the best atmosphere, it's got this amazing sci-fi atmosphere, and it's going to be this huge open world game. Me personally, I kind of sit more towards the former of the two, the whole opinion of maybe not. I'm not going to say that, you know, the multiplayer is Call of Duty and the gameplay's going to suck. I'm not trying to say that. I'm trying to be as open-minded as possible. However, you know, okay, so let me start from the basics. We've got a sci-fi game. I love sci-fi as a genre. I've loved games like Mass Effect in the past. I love Halo. And, you know, this is a Bungie game in the sci-fi universe. That's one point in Destiny's column already. Then you've got the fact that it's similar to a Borderlands experience. For a lot of people, this is going to be a turn-off for them because you've got a little bit of grindy, repetitive combat in some aspects. And it's like, you know, some people... It's kind of a love or hate thing where, you know, the enemies can get a little bit bullet spongy at times, and it feels like you're just shooting and numbers are coming up, and it feels very mechanical. It doesn't feel like you're fully engaged in the actual game experience, and it might take you out a little bit because the combat is a little bit too on the simplistic side. I, however, absolutely adore Borderlands as long as I feel like there's enough reward behind it. I feel like Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 keep you on this constant treadmill of excitement of unlocking new guns and just keeping you on the grind, and I really enjoy it, to be quite honest. So yeah, that's another point in Destiny's favor. I actually like Borderlands. I'm not a hater of that. So, you know, so far it seems like I'm all positive for Destiny. However, it's the last thing that kind of, you know, gets under my skin and makes me a little bit worried, and that is the tag of MMO. See, MMO is something that has not really found its footing in quite some time. You know, ever since the release of World of Warcraft, there have been a huge amount of games releasing in the MMO genre post World of Warcraft that kind of tried to do something similar to that in creating this massive open world, making you go from quest to quest with this engaging atmospheric environment that was absolutely beautiful and stunning at the time and pushed PCs to the max. And it was just an enjoyable experience, an addicting experience, something that kept players engrossed for years and years. Even to this day, people are paying subscriptions. Even to this day, it's somewhat a viable business, the amount of subscriptions they're getting. I think they're getting, you know, in the tens of millions, maybe, of subscribers still. Maybe that's gone down. It's probably gone down by this point, but still, at some point, it was insane. However, it's been very hard for companies to replicate this success due to the significant flaws that were found in World of Warcraft even at the beginning, and people don't seem to have found a way to get around this. And this is the fact that you've got this idea of X quest giver sends you to Y location to go farm grunts for X amount of time and then come back, and it becomes extremely repetitive because the game has such a large design that elements of the gameplay have to be sacrificed to be able to contain this like massive world. You know, they can't put their best developers, their best and brightest, they can't put ridiculous amount of resources and finances into every single small aspect of the game. There has to be sacrifices made, unfortunately, and I think gamers can get a bit blindsided by the concept of this is going to be a gigantic universe, this is going to be one massive place, but they don't necessarily look at the whole picture of, okay, but what do we have to sacrifice to get to that? What do we have to sacrifice in terms of gameplay? You know, even if you look at a game like, for example, Skyrim, now I know that's not an MMO, but you can see sacrifices had to be made in areas of that game. Despite it being an amazing game, despite it having so many incredible aspects to it, you know, parts of the gameplay felt a little bit shallow at times. It felt like you would go into a cave, and this might feel like a little bit of a clone of another cave that you've recently visited. You were seeing similar bad guys, you were seeing similar themes. And a game like Destiny, which is trying to be so big, so grand, on consoles no less, where they don't have the technology to perhaps support it to the same extent that they would on the PC side of things, it's something that just makes me a bit worried. And to be honest, in terms of like, you know, the trailers and how they've broken down the gameplay, they don't seem to have many answers to these solutions. And I've heard people talking about the gameplay and their first impressions, and the fact that they find themselves walking across the wasteland that is Destiny to their location, and there's not necessarily, sometimes there's stuff that isn't going on. Sometimes they go into boss battle scenarios where it feels like they're just having to kite their enemy who has this massive health bar above them, and they're just having to put shots in continuously, but they're not necessarily completely engaged with the experience in front of them. And obviously, you know, Bungie's are the masters of weaving a story, so I don't necessarily think that this is an impossible feat, but I think it's a very difficult feat, especially when you look to the past and see how many MMOs have failed at creating this, you know, experience, this true successor to World of Warcraft. That just hasn't been done for so long. You know, you see games like Elder Scrolls Online, you see games like Star Wars Online that had to shift to free-to-play because people just weren't paying the subscriptions, and it lost absolutely tons of money. And the games that did make it, that did manage to break even, it wasn't like they were earth-shattering successes. It wasn't like they, you know, reinvented the genre in the same way that World of Warcraft did. It just kind of managed to, you know, do well enough through a couple of elements. You know, for example, Guild Wars 2 took the idea of public events, which greatly boosted some of the gameplay aspects, because it meant that there were like random encounters. It meant that there was stuff that was outside of the ordinary, and it wasn't this grind fest. But at the same time, I haven't seen Destiny trying to tackle this issue, and I worry if they've been a little bit cocky and a little bit sure of themselves, thinking that they, you know, they can get away with it because they're doing an MMO on console, and this is the first one done on consoles. Well, kind of the first. They're trying to make the first successful one. Obviously, we had Defiance beforehand, but Defiance did not go down very well. And to be truthful, apart from the graphics and the polish that Destiny is going to bring to the table, I haven't actually seen that much different in gameplay mechanics from what I've watched on streams. Now, bear in mind, this might sound a little bit harsh, but I'm still trying the beta, and I'm still going to give you guys my post expectations. I just want to be honest and upfront with the channel with where I stand. Feel free to call me out in the comments and say, no, like, this is what Bungie is doing differently that's going to, you know, set that back. Because that's what I want to hear. I want to hear different opinions. I want to hear opinions that challenge my own. Because, you know, it's good to have a debate. It's good to keep my opinions fresh and to keep my mind sharp on this sort of thing. Because I don't want to be that, like, closed-minded idiot who's like, no, Destiny's going to be bad no matter what, guys. I know it because I'm awesome. No, like, I definitely don't think that way. But anyway, I'm going to try the beta, and then I'll give you my expectations post that. But that's just what I'm thinking going into, and I hope I'm proved wrong. You know, it doesn't really cause me any disadvantages being a skeptic, because either I'm going to be right, and I'm going to be like, oh, okay, so I was right. This game is what I kind of expected, in that it's being held back and constrained by the fact that it's an MMO. Or I'm going to be wrong, and I'm going to be, like, pleasantly surprised. I'm going to be like, yes, I was right all along. I was wrong all along. This game is absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that I was being so stupid, and then slap myself around the face. But we'll see. And yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys think of Destiny. Let me know what you think of my opinions. If you think I'm horribly wrong, or if you slightly agree with me. We'll just have to wait and see. But thank you for watching. I've been Modest Major. Peace out.